Hello, and welcome to our cybersecurity series. In this unit, you will gain an awareness of the importance and value of data, how human actions can make data more vulnerable to theft or exploitation, common cyber attacks, measures put in place on networks to help protect IT systems from attacks. Lesson 1: You and your data. In Lesson 1, about you and your data, we will explain the difference between data and information. We will look at online services in relation to their data privacy policy and the information they collect from users. We will identify what happens to the data entered online, for example, data you enter in your social media accounts, what happens to that data. And we are also going to explain the need for the Data Protection Act. Here are our key vocabulary. Read them and make yourself familiar with these words so that when we use them in the lesson, you understand what we're talking about. Pause the video and read them. We are now going to look at a threat map. And this particular threat map professes to show cyber attacks happening in real time. So this threat map has three different types of threats that are happening. We have malware, denoted by red lines running, for example, from Russia to the Philippines. So currently, Russia is attacking the Philippines with malware. We have phishing, denoted by purple lines. We can't see any purple lines at oh, there's one from the US to Brazil, phishing attacks. And we have exploits happening internally within the USA and from the USA to Peru and so on in real time. So we can click on a country, or we can see what is going on or what type of threats or what type of attacks are happening within the last 30 days. And any term you see on here that you don't understand, research it. For example, botnet. If it's the first time you're seeing about botnet, research and find out what botnet means, what phishing is. You would have done phishing at some point before, mobile attacks, and so on. Now, the top three industries that are targeted by these type of attacks are education, government, and communications. Why is education at the top? That's interesting. Can you find out? Or what do you think? Why do you think education is the most targeted organization in the world? Okay, you can visit this site on threatmap.checkpoint.com and review what is going on. Now, we've just looked at the threat map, and we could see different countries attacking or exploiting or conducting phishing or sending malware to other countries. What do you think they're trying to get? What is so valuable that they're trying to get? Believe it or not, majority of these hacks or threats are trying to get data. So they're trying to steal or get access to data. Now, data, what is data? And why do people want data? So hopefully throughout this lesson we can see why people are after your data or other people's data. Now, data is raw facts and figures, means that there's no context to it. It's just letters, numbers, images, and so on. However, data can be converted to information. Now, information is created when that data has been processed and become meaningful. That means there is some form of context to it to make it understandable. So let's look at just some data. Here we have some data. John, 28. Claire, 49. Jade, 40. Ahmed, 45. Chloe, 38. Now, these numbers and names by themselves are raw facts and figures. It's just people's names and some numbers. We don't know what they mean. We don't know why it's there. It could be that John ate 28 dumplings, Claire is 49 years old, Joe has 40 pounds or something. We don't know. It's just data by itself. But whenever we put a context to it, we can then understand it and use it to arrive at something. So, for example, what if we say this data is scores from a test where the pass mark was 35? So, if 35 is the pass mark, that means John failed. John might need to do this test again. Claire, however, got 49, so that's well above the pass mark. So, Claire is doing really well and probably deserves a prize. The average score is 40. It's true because 3 people got in the 40s. So you can see that before we had no clue what this data was about or so, but now that we put a context to it, we can process it. Has been processed and it becomes meaningful because we've now put it in a context where these are scores from a test and the pass mark was 35. So we can make assumptions and so on from it. And we'll look at some data next and make some assumptions from it. Now, this person went online and they bought these items. A tent, one person, they bought some dog toys and they bought a fitness tracker. What can we deduce from this customer? What assumptions can we reasonably make about this customer? I could say this customer is well into fitness and they love dogs and they like camping. So those 3 little pieces of data alone can give me a lot of information about this person. This data can be used to help build a profile of this customer and therefore convert the data into information. Now, when we convert this data into information, we can then market or sell or even propose additional items to this customer that they could buy. So if this was my store and this customer is checking out, I could say, would you be interested in a hiking trip to somewhere? Or would you be interested in a trainer? Customers who bought these things bought this trainer. Or customers who bought these items bought dog food. That's how websites use the data that they've gathered on you to advertise more products to you that you might likely want to buy. Most of us nowadays have a social media account. And social media accounts collect a huge quantity of data from us that they use in turn to build our profile. They have a profile about us that most people aren't even aware of. They do have your personal details, such as your name, your date of birth, your address where you live, the places that you visit, how long you stay there, the videos that you watch, how long you watch the videos for, the type of adverts that you might click on. They have all of these information about us on the background. So while we look at our profile, we see our names, we see our pictures, and so on. But on the background, or in the background, they have another profile of you. The things that you like, the people that you talk to, your friends' details, your friends' date of birth, whose profile you visit the most, whose profile you like activities on the most. And they then compile all of that to know more about you. Sometimes they know about you, more about you than you know about yourself. They know about your habits, your online habits, the things that you really are into. They know all of these things. So the content you provide them gives them that information. The data that you have on others also gives them the information of the type of people you like. And if those people like this, that means you might like that. So they build up that profile to know more about you so that they can advertise more to you and to sell your data to other companies so that they can earn from it. Why do you think most social media sites are free? Because if it was a paid social media sites, you wouldn't be paying for them to collect all of that information about you to sell back. So consider how much information they collect on you. Now, data social media companies might collect. They collect your personal info. They collect the images that you give to them, such as your status, the emojis that you've created, the images that you've uploaded, where you've been, your behavior, what pages you visit, groups you are a member of, what you liked, data you have on others, names of your friends, and so on. Now, let's look at Instagram's privacy policy. And in this one, I say, what kind of data do we collect? And you can see the things you and others do and provide. So information and content you provide, such as your name, date of birth, the pictures you've uploaded, the music that you've uploaded, things that you've clicked liked on, and so on. Your network connections. We collect information about people, pages, accounts, hashtags, and groups you are connected to, and how you might interact with them across our products. So they collect all of those information. Your usage, what time of the day are you on? What time do you most likely get off? How long do you spend? And so on. Information about transaction made on products. So if you buy items online or if you comment on products that are on there for sale, things others do and information they provide to you, like what type of, when you're chatting in your private messages, they collect all of that information as well. The device that you connect with, the device attributes such as operating system, hardware and software versions, device operations, information about operations and behaviors performed on the device, such as whether a window is foreground or background. So if you have other windows open in the background, you can read all of this by yourself, but there's a lot of information that they collect about you that you don't even know. Some people don't even know which phone versions they have, but these companies know, and they use that to advertise and sell products to you. So be mindful of that. Let's look at Facebook's policy as well. It's pretty much the same exact thing. They collect the usage, information about transaction, things others do, and so on. So it's pretty much the same thing. They collect every information possible. They even listen to, if you have Facebook Messenger, they listen to your conversations while you're not even in the app. So all of those things are recorded and is used to build a profile on you so they can market things to you. How do you think social media companies make money if they are free to use? So social media companies are free and you upload them and give them all of them this information. Based on their privacy policy, you have to accept these before you can even have an account. So therefore, they will be collecting this information on you. And when they build up a profile about you, they then sell that data to other companies who will then want to advertise to you. Where do you think the advertisements on your profile comes from? It's from the data that you've provided that they then use to build a profile, sell it to other companies, and then so other companies can pay them to advertise to you because you're on their platform. So that's how it works. Sounds scary, but that's how it works. What do you think they do with your data? Simple. They sell it. So what I want you to do now is to pause the video and look at Snapchat's privacy policy, Instagram privacy policy, Google's privacy policy, Facebook's privacy policy. If you are at school and you can't visit any of these sites, look at any company website that you can visit privacy policy. Majority of them will be the same. Google privacy policy is there. Everyone can visit Google privacy policy. The same information that they collect is most likely the same information that the others collect, but they vary depending on specific companies. So visit these ones, and if you can't, visit the ones that you can, or any other company that you like, and look at their privacy policy. Now we're going to play a quick video from YouTube and learn about if cybercriminals successfully stole data from companies, who are the people most likely to suffer?
The breach at the internet technology multinational actually happened in 2014, but only now has Yahoo confirmed it to the media. Usernames and many other sensitive data wound up in cybercriminal hands.
Amongst the data that we're now certain was stolen is credit card information. That's worth gold to the hackers. They can sell it over the darknet for good money. The usernames, passwords and email addresses too. Where else does all this spam come from that's sent to me unsolicited? Companies pay really good money to get hold of information like that.
Yahoo's data breach isn't the first of its kind. Many other sites have been targeted. In 2012, 117 accounts with business networking site LinkedIn were penetrated. Image hosting site Flickr and microblogging site Tumblr also saw millions of accounts hacked. What can the victims do?
Change passwords regularly, at least once a year, and use different ones for each account. Because once a hacker's cracked a password, like they did with the Yahoo email accounts, they can see where else the user's registered. Facebook, Twitter, or wherever, and they can get in everywhere.
Data theft has turned into a flourishing business all over the world. Hackers are getting to be more professional and ruthless. The only real protection is greater vigilance.
I would recommend keeping a very close eye on your emails. Are you getting more spam than you used to? Or if credit card information was stolen, you should definitely watch that activity. Are transactions listed that you yourself didn't make? Then it's time to take action and block those accounts.
Right. So an answer to the question is, if cybercriminals successfully stole data from these companies, who would suffer and in what way? Well, the users. Because if they stole their credit card details, then the user would suffer because hackers would use their credit cards to buy things and that person would be in debt. So that's as an example. So the users would suffer. The company would suffer as well because people would lose faith in that company and migrate to another company that they believe would be a bit more secure with their data. So both the company and the users would suffer. Now, with this lots and lots of criminal activities taking place, the government had to do something. The government then came up with the Data Protection Act, and this was revised in 2018. And it says, all organizations and people using and storing personal data must abide by the following principles. The data must be used fairly, openly, and in accordance with the law, used for a specific and stated reason. So that means they must tell you the truth of what they have it for, or they are collecting your data for. Use only in a way that is necessary and sufficient for the purpose for which it was collected. So they can't say to you that they've collected it to advertise and then use it to do something else. Accurate and up to date. Data on you must be kept accurate and up to date. So that means the companies must revise regularly to check if it is in accordance with the truth of the current state. So for example, if your home address has changed, if your phone number has changed, and so on. It should only be kept for as long as it is needed. As long as it is not needed anymore, it should be deleted. Your data should be protected against loss, damage, and unauthorized access. That means they must use top security systems to keep your data safe. Where none of these are followed, the company would be in breach and likely for you to sue them. A data subject is the person who the data can be used to identify. As a data subject, you have the right to find out what information the government and other organizations store about you. You have the right to find out how your data is being used by an organization. So you can call them up or write them a letter to find out how they are using your data and what they're using it for. You can access the data that an organization has about you. So you can contact them and ask them or request to see the data. Update your data. So if they have data about you that might not be updated, you can request for it to be updated. You can have your data deleted. So you can contact a company and ask them to delete your data. You can stop an organization from processing your data. So if you find out that a company has your data and they process it to use for specific reasons that you don't like, you can contact them and request for them to stop processing your data. You have that right. You can transfer your data to a different organization. So if you go to this particular school and you change the school, you can request for your data to be transferred to another school, as an example. So looking at the Data Protection Act and your rights, you also have rights when an organization is using your personal data for automated decision-making processes without human involvement. For example, when a computer decides if you should be approved for a loan. Profiling. For example, to predict your behavior or interest. So you also have rights when an organization is using your personal data for these purposes, and you can look at some of the rights that you have here to determine how you would want to either stop them or what you want and your rights to get access to that information. So this is the end of our first lesson, and these are some questions that you will see towards the end that you will need to answer. So please record your answers. Name 3 items of data that a company might hold on you that would help form your profile. Give 1 potential consequence to you if cybercriminals had access to that data. Give 1 potential consequence to the company storing the data if a cybercriminal gains access to the data they were storing. In this lesson, we looked at the difference between data and information. We looked at some privacy policy and what data companies might collect on you, as well as how that data might be valuable to cybercriminals. We've looked at the need for the law involving data protection. Next lesson, we'll look at the risk of data being compromised through human error and strategies that can be put in place to avoid the dangers. Thank you.